Hello, welcome back to Foods Entertainment. This time for my review of 2019's Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw in 4K. Alright, well first off, just like The Fate of the Furious, this film is a legit 4K release. It was not converted or had to go for any restorations or anything like that. This was designed to be presented in this format, not the regular Blu-ray format. Unlike all the direct Fast and Furious films, though, this one has a Dolby Atmos track on it instead. Alright, well, my thoughts on the film. I like this movie so much, and I loved it so much. I saw it in movie theaters on its opening weekend, and liked it so much that I actually, in the actual same day, went back about 2.5, 3 hours later and watched it again. And I very rarely do that with a movie. It really never happens. I never watch a movie earlier in the day and then go back for seconds. I think it's like the first or second time I've done that. Probably the second time. But I liked it that much, I actually did that. It's a fun movie. I mean, when I saw the trailer to Hobbs and Shaw, the first trailer, that first trailer, in my opinion, is better than the second trailer. What it showed to me is, oh, this is going to be fun. You're gonna have insane, badass, crazy action. You're going to have two of the greatest action heroes in cinema going ahead and teaming up with each other, but make things even fun. They hate each other, so it'll be toe-to-toe and punch-to-punch with each other while taking on some supervillain like you have in a spy movie. And it's also kind of a spy movie plot. Oh, this is going to be great. Well, it did not disappoint. It was awesome. Of course, one thing that I hear from some people that had a problem with this movie is, why was it night and then all of a sudden day? Well, if you pay attention to everything they say in a movie, you can find out why. It was explained towards the final act of the film that it was going to be like roughly 5:25 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning when the battle in Samoa starts, which means that within about 35-minute time period, it would be light outside, and it would be morning. So, there you go. And as in terms of fighting the main villain in the film, they're in a waterfall reservoir with fucking, with water. So, yeah. It would be dark, you'd think. And oh yeah, I did not mention this on the last two, but YouTube police, all of these Fast and Furious films are not meant for children. So I do not approve my reviews of any of the Fast and Furious films, as well as Hobbs and Shaw, appropriate for children. So there you go. All right, plot of the film. After a deadly virus that has the ability to wipe out pretty much the entire human race, codenamed Snowflake, is suspectively stolen by a MI6 agent, who happens to be Deckard Shaw's sister, again played by Jason Statham. The United States government and the British government recruit both Luke Hobbs and Deckard Shaw to track down this deadly virus and track down this rogue MI6 agent. upon doing so, they discovered that she is not a terrorist, but instead she's trying to protect the virus, and she injected herself with the virus. It's only exists inside of her bloodstream. And the real threat is a former MI6 agent from the days when Deckard Shaw was an MI6 agent. And he supposedly killed this guy by shooting him 3 times, 2 in the chest and 1 in the head, and it just simply didn't work. And that he's actually become, and this is where it gets kind of spy movie type of cool stuff here, in a very realistic way that's practical, he has basically become a cyborg. So he's literally a cyborg and just about unstoppable. And so they all work together. They break into the terrorist organization's main base of operations to basically try to extract the virus from Deckard's little sister. And basically doesn't work, and they are in a race against time to fix the machine to obviously extract the virus before the virus takes form and kills our heroine in the movie. Our villain is played by Idris Elba, who I think is a brilliant British actor. He is a very, very brilliant British actor. Now, I know people have been talking, well, why not have him play James Bond? Well, there's a reason for that. First off, and I'll say this really quick because I don't want to waste time. This is just a Fast and Furious review, not a James Bond review. But there's a reason why. Contrary to what everybody has to think, if you pay attention to everything in the James Bond movies, everything, instead of just what you want to pay attention to, it tells you constantly that he's not a code name. He is one guy. And all these movies take place over the course of 20 to 25 years. They don't take place over the course of 60 years. They take place over the course of 25 years in this one guy. And that's the reason why you can't have a almost 60 or pushing 60-year-old man play James Bond. It just doesn't work that way. If he was younger, if Idris Elba was like, say, 37, 42 years old, I'd be all for him playing James Bond. I'm not against a black person playing James Bond. This has to be the right guy. You can't be a 60, 70-year-old, whatever, playing James Bond. This doesn't work that way. But I wouldn't mind to see him play a villain, especially after playing this villain. His name is Preston, I believe. All right. Well, obviously, they get the virus out. They take out Preston and save the day. And that's basically the plot of the movie right there. Quality. Like the last 2 films, this one is in 2.39.1 widescreen, which is pretty much the same thing as 2.40.1 widescreen. It's pretty much the same thing. And they're both modifications of a 2.35 aspect ratio. The picture quality is pretty good, but this is a step down from the last one in terms of that. I say that HDR and Dolby Vision were better on that, I would say, from looking at it. But the black levels are not bad at all. The color ranges are not bad at all, but they seem very neutral and pretty mundanely average for a 4K release. Unlike, say, Fast 5 and The Fate of the Furious, and even to a point, Furious 6 and Furious 7, which had extraordinary black levels and vivid color palettes and wider color ranges. This one is not bad, but it's pretty basic. But that said, there are some pretty vibrant sequences in the film, and the black levels are not terrible or anything. I mean, they're there and they're good black levels. It's just not, spectacular to me. The Dolby Atmos audio sound presentation. You would think after the brilliance of The Fate of the Furious with its DTS-X sound presentation that this would be cool, right? The Dolby Atmos in this movie, not really much of any use of overhead effects in this movie. I mean, it's so sad because they could have done so much with overhead effects. Now, are there overhead effects in this movie? Yes, there are. But it's not consistent. And there's really like maybe 2 or 3 short sequences of the movie in which you have good overhead effects. The rest of the time they're there, but you can't really hear them because they blend in so well with the stereo effects that you can't really hear it. And then, of course, those particular scenes are ones like when you have the flying drone chasing them in the Etion facility, and then, you know, we do that fancy driving and shooting them down with the guns and stuff like that. Yeah, you have some pretty cool Atmos effects of things flying around. When you had the chase in London after jumping off at the side of the DSI building, yeah, it has some Atmos effects in there. But they're so subtle that you actually have to this way, you actually have to be wanting to hear them. So you actually are listening for Dolby Atmos effects because you subconsciously want to hear them, and then you'll come across it. But if you're not doing that, you really can't notice them. That's kind of the way what Dolby Atmos is in this film, which is kind of sad. But that's what there's to say about Hobbs and Shaw in 4K. It's still worth the investment in 4K. It's better than the regular Blu-ray, but don't expect too much from it. And I will see you guys next time for the beginning of DC Extended Universe films, which I'm doing this month. Until then.